Alright, so now I get to finally talk about my boy. And I'm not talking about my Sour Patch Boy Skune here. I'm talking about my boy, Zenitsu. Out of all the characters in Demon Slayer, Zenitsu has to be my favorite. When we first meet Zenitsu, or rather when we first meet him when he is no longer a background character that you just forget about, we see him on his knees, crying and begging for this girl to marry him. This scene perfectly embolizes the character of Zenitsu at this point in his life. Now, Zenitsu will not remain this way for the entire series. His character evolves from a weak, female-obsessed crybaby to a competent warrior. His story is aspiring. Speaking of his story, let's start from the beginning. So at point 1 of his life, Zenitsu was an orphan. He knows nothing about his biological parents, and neither do we. The only thing that we may know is circumstantial, such that Zenitsu believes that he was abandoned by his family and given neither a name nor a blanket. Was he really truly abandoned? Did someone happen to be his parents that we're not aware of? Were his parents super secret spies the entire time like Peter Parker's parents and that's how they died? We don't know. All we do know is that he grew up as an orphan, likely alone on the streets. We never see an orphanage in his past, and there aren't any dominating figures in his past aside from Gramps. When our old pal here is first introduced to Zenitsu, he doesn't meet him at the best of times. Mirroring what Tanjiro saw, our boy here is begging for this girl to marry him, and in fact, he's put himself in a lot of debt just to woo her. It doesn't work. She's running off with another guy, like they do. just making a joke here, and he's on track to becoming an indentured servant for the rest of his life. That is until Gramps steps in. Having pity on the child, Gramps adopts him, and he decides to raise him in the ways which are that of the Demon Slayer. Now, one thing that does need to be pointed out here is the fact that Gramps actually isn't Zenitsu's grandfather. Yeah, I didn't even know this until I started writing this review, but Jigoro, the former Hashira that I believe to be our Thunder Boy's grandfather, actually isn't his grandfather. I mean, it probably makes a lot of sense to you guys since I just told you this, that he was an orphan with no parents and all, but reading through the story, it really felt like there was an Uncle Ben thing going on. Like perhaps Jigoro learned that his child and their spouse had passed, leaving their grandchild orphaned, and it isn't until at this point, this dark point in his grandson's life, that he's able to swoop in and take him to safety. But then realizing that his grandson is weak, he decides to train him in his ways, which he may not have for his other children for one reason or the other. That was the impression that I had during the entire series, but I was wrong. Instead of an Uncle Ben thing going on here, we have a Grandpa Gohan thing going on here. Just like how Goku was orphaned and then raised by his adopted grandfather Gohan, so too was Zenitsu orphaned and raised by his adopted grandfather Jigoro. And now when it comes to his competency of being a warrior, Zenitsu's journey is actually more believable, at least to me it is, than Tanjiro's. Yeah, you heard me right. I've already gone through a lot of detail explaining the whys and hows of Tanjiro's training, and I think that I did a good job of portraying his believable evolution. But with Zenitsu, it's far better. Our Thunder Boy is trained alongside another guy in his Demon Slayer art of thunder breathing, and he doesn't take to the training well, and he actually runs away from his teacher, climbs a tree, and then gets struck by lightning. The lightning forever changes his hair color from black to blonde, and Zenitsu, he continues his training, however he still acts like a crybaby the entire time. Now in regards to himself and that other guy that he trains alongside with, both of them were to become Jigoro's successors in the art of thunder breathing. Both Zenitsu and his senior student, Kagaku, were to become this generation's masters of thunder breathing. Kagaku did not like this idea, and Zenitsu was kind of indifferent to it. One of the reasons why Kagaku didn't like this idea is that he saw his understudent as a weakling, which, let's be honest, he's a new guy, of course he's going to be weak. But while Kagaku was able to perform almost all of the thunder breathing forms, Zenitsu was only able to perform one. But strangely, Kagaku could actually perform all of the thunder breathing forms except for the first one, which Zenitsu could do. This makes Zenitsu unique about thunder breathing though, is that although he doesn't learn how to perform the other forms, he practices over and over and over again the only form that he does know. He instills the first form so well into his subconscious that he is even able to perform this as a reflex to save his skin when he's even asleep. So when both of them go through the final selection and become Demon Slayers, Kagaku is basically a bachelor of thunder breathing, and he's on his way to getting his master's degree. But Zenitsu, he's basically just earned a doctorate in just one specific study of thunder breathing. Alright, so there's a lot of other details, a part of this arc, but More on that later. For now, let's focus on Zenitsu's and Tanjiro's first meeting. So after being rejected, Zenitsu cries a whole bunch and he explains his basic backstory to Tanjiro. The two are now inducted into their next mission, the Show How Badass Zenitsu Is mission. Well, that's not what the mission is really called, but that's definitely what's going on here. The two arrive to a house full of demons. Tani shows off his super smell while Zenny shows off his super hearing. Within the house there are captured humans being used as prey, and it's our boys' job to stop that. While inside, Tiny plays the cool hero, while Zenny is freaking the fuck out the entire time. He's crying, and he's making a complete ass of himself. When a demon pops out of nowhere, he shrieks like a little fucking girl, and then falls asleep. But while he's asleep though, that is when his ability of a swordsman comes out, and Tiny ultimately saves the day, but the mystery of Zenny's abilities continues. Also, it's here that we meet the main character named Inosuke. So Inosuke is a strange guy. Like Zenitsu, he grew up as an orphan, and at the beginning of the series, Inosuke believes that he was abandoned by his mother who intended for him to die. Later on though, it is revealed that his mother was part of a cult and she fled from it after learning that the head of the cult was actually a demon that was devouring the cult's members. Inosuke's mother intended to escape with her son and find safety, but that didn't really work out. She was able to save her son though, but, not herself. So growing up, Inosuke would not be raised by his mother, so instead, he would be raised by boars. So Zenitsu gets a grandfather, and Inosuke gets a boar. Right. Of all the characters in Demon Slayer, Inosuke is the most unbelievable, in my opinion. He has his own sword style that he created based on childhood being raised by boars, and he wears a boar head in a way to honor this and represent this. And where does he get his swords? Well, he just steals them. He steals them from another Demon Slayer, and he literally beats him up and takes him. And guess what? It turns out that Inosuke is actually a fully fledged Demon Slayer. Yeah, so remember that tiny detail from the final selection arc where the crow said that 5 applicants passed, but we only saw 4 and I was very confused about it, like was this a mistake? Well, it wasn't. It was actually a very subdued foreshadowing for the fact that Inosuke participated in the final selection arc the entire freaking time. Anyway, Inosuke fights some demons, then on the outside, he aims to kill Tanjiro's sister, who is a demon of course, we all know that. This results in a fight, with Tanjiro being the victor. Our heroes are then badly injured, so they then are taken by the crow to somewhere where they can get some rest. So this place that they are taken to is a residence taken care of by this kind and cute old lady. And I like this lady, look at her, she's fucking cute, even though she's old. After spending some time recovering, they are then thrusted into their next mission, and this will lead us to my favorite arc of the series. So Demon Slayer has a total of 11 arcs. We have the Final Selection arc, the First Mission arc, the Asakusa arc, the Suzumi Mansion arc, the Naragumo Mountain arc, the Rehabilitation arc, the Mugen Train arc, the Entertainment District arc, the Swordsmith Village arc, the Hashira Training arc, and then lastly we have the Final Battle arc. So 11 arcs. Now when it comes to my favorite arc of the series, out of the totality of them, my favorite arc would have to be the Naraguma Mountain arc, or the 5th arc of the series. In my mind, I think that the favoritism for this arc over all of the others may be a surprise for other fans of Demon Slayer. I mean, it's not the momentous journey that was the Final Selection arc, nor the grand triumphant that was the Final Battle arc. It's also not the quaint First Mission arc that displays the life of Tanjiro that he will lead now as a Demon Slayer, nor is it the super and exciting Mugen Train arc that got a fucking movie that grossed over $503 million worldwide. Oh my god! Whoa! That's insane! But no, the Naraguma Mountain arc is not like those other arcs. It's not like those other girls, my guys. In brief, the Naraguma Mountain arc revolves around the theme of family and what it means to be a family. It's about family. Family. Is family just those that you share the same blood of? Is it the bonds that you forge with other individuals? Is it the surrounding culture that you're born into? What is family? What does it mean to be a family? Well, it's all a complicated issue. The arc revolves around these spider demons that claim to see themselves as a family, and when we are first introduced to them, they are completely just massacring all of these demon slayers. And the spider demons manipulate their victims to fight each other, and this grossly manipulates their bodies obtusely if needed, and it's quite disgusting, frankly. The family is composed of a father, a mother, 2 sons, and a daughter. Yes, this thing is a son. He acts more like a dog, but he's a son, apparently. Well, actually, there are more members of this family. Excluding the slaves that the youngest son can create, there are other members that we haven't seen yet, but we most likely haven't seen them because they've been killed off for not fulfilling their role. You see, this family isn't a real family, imagine my shock. It's an association of demons that came together to create a family, if you will. Although he is a son of the family, the demon named Rui is actually the one in charge. Also, Rui is a member of the 12 Kazuki, basically the big baddies demon club that Muzan created. He desired for a family structure in order to remember what he wanted. He believed that if he recreated being part of a family, that he remembered what he wanted when he was human. Working with other demons that wanted companionship, they forged a fake family, and each gained their own roles. Rui also gave the other demons a part of his power somehow, in order to have them have a more familiar resemblance, and each demon also changed their appearance to be better resembled to Rui's. However, this wasn't working, and Rui was basically crazy. Failure to live up to these rules that Rui expected of the family members would lead to punishment. And based on the fact that we don't see these other members here, those in the background in the shadow, present during the story, I think that it's safe to assume that Rui fucking killed them, or had them killed. They're gone somehow. Rui's responsible, believe me. Now, speaking of the family structure, it is obviously very destructive and abusive. The father regularly beats the mom, the eldest son supports this abusive structure, and the daughter complies with it because, she doesn't want to get beat too. And the other son, he kind of just fucks around. Yeah, he's kind of just here as the other son. He does play a big role in Zenitsu's development though. Again, the whole arc revolves around the theme of family, and what it means to be family. It's about family, didn't you know? It's not just talking about spider demons, it's also talking about Zenitsu and Tanjiro. It is actually during Zenitsu's fight with the spider dog, that's what I'm gonna call him, that we learn about the relationship between Gramps and with his fellow student. Through Zenitsu, it is conveyed that family bonds can be forged through other means besides blood. Family bonds can be forged through brotherhood, through companionship, and through putting in the time and care for another person. He may not descend by him, but Jigoro is Zenitsu's grandfather, just like how Gohan is Goku's grandfather. Jigoro has taken up the responsibility of one that would act as a grandfather, and this just shows that family is not just a biological association, it is a role-oriented association as well. Tanjiro's story here also demonstrates some of these concepts too, but it also presents a biological component. It is baked into the biological route of family to fill a role and carry responsibilities. There are things expected of you in this biological family that are not expected of you in a non-biological family. For not fulfilling your role, you can be considered to be a bad at it, but still have the title. Basically, a bad father is still a father. You're just bad though. However, if Jigoro was a bad grandfather to Zenitsu, it is basically widely accepted that the relationship formed and its titles and responsibilities associated with it, those can be recanted. Tanjiro's parents fulfilled their role as teachers, as guiders, for working with reality. Tanjiro's father, among other things, taught Tanjiro the breathing style which would allow him to face against the spider demon. And Tanjiro's mother, again, among other things, parents have a lot of responsibilities and they do a lot of things for their children. She provided the encouragement for her daughter in order to protect and save her brother. Anyway, I believe that the ending of this arc is beautiful. While Rui is fading away, his memories return. He returns back to the how and why he became a demon, and he remembers what he wanted. Guess what? Rui just wanted a family. Who could have guessed it? He believed that he didn't have it, but as soon as he tore it away, he realized that he did. In the end, his family did return to him, and presumably by the words, the art, and what we see going on here, his parents even went to hell with him. That is insane. And that is the Naruguma Mountain arc. It's incredible. It's my favorite arc of the series, and for some of you, it might now be your favorite arc too. Or maybe not. Maybe your favorite arc of the series is the Mugen Train arc.